it's getting to where it's not every day that I'm able to find like these gems from the 80s specifically that I can like enjoy for the first time. But boy, oh boy, is The Hitcher that movie. Before you ask, I don't really know why I haven't seen The Hitcher. I think when I initially was like really looking 2-3 years ago before I got region free, which you don't need to be region free to have this, but we'll talk about that in a second. If it wasn't in America on Blu-ray, I didn't really see it if it was horror because I love buying horror Blu-rays and collecting horror and cataloging horror. So I never streamed it or never even probably looked to stream it. And quite frankly, off of memory, I'm not even sure if you can stream The Hitcher in America right now. But I tell you, you can get it from this German Blu-ray, which I may as well just say it now is region free. But let's talk about The Hitcher. This was a movie that was put over to me every time it was mentioned. If I said, yeah, man, I'm still waiting to see The Hitcher. Oh, my God. Oh, God. Oh, you got to see The Hitcher. You got to see The Hitcher. Everybody said, Christian, you got to see The Hitcher. So I get The Hitcher finally. Diabolic DVD has this region-free German Blu-ray. Instantly popped it in the second I got it. And it lives up to the hype that everybody gave me about the film. Rutger Hauer. Now, this is a guy that I saw in a movie I loved called Split Second. I'll have the image of the MVD Blu-ray that I own as well. And I loved that movie. It was this quaint alien ripoff that was so fun, great sense of humor, great personality that Rutger Hauer had in that film. Loved it. Loved Rutger Hauer in that film. So that was my Rutger Hauer, the guy from Split Second. And I've seen him in other stuff. My wife recognized him from something newer that I was like, oh, that was him. But, I knew from every time the name was mentioned, The Hitcher was the movie that got brought up with Rutger Hauer. So, I put this movie on, and yeah, it was great. This is one of those movies that I love because there's not like over explanations of what's going on. You start the movie, and you got to buckle up, no pun intended, because, The Hitcher is described as what would be a road horror thriller picture, which I love road pictures. Some of my favorite movies are road pictures, movies like Vampires and other movies that are like traveling, like Near Dark. I love road pictures. I feel like you really get to know the characters well. You know how when you drive in a car with somebody for like 3 or 4 hours, you'll get to know them. I feel the same way about that with film. I love road pictures because I feel you really get a sense of the characters in the movie, and The Hitcher is no exception. So this young guy is driving this vehicle all the way cross country to deliver it as a job. And he's really tired. He's passing out at the wheel, and he comes to a moment where it's raining and there's a guy hitchhiking, and he lets him in. This would be the gravest mistake that this young boy ever does. Now, the actor that was in this movie, his name slipped me off the top of my head, but he was Ponyboy Curtis in a movie called The Outsiders, which is a great 80s movie with a bunch of stars in it before some of them were really big stars. And the tension that Rutger Hauer starts out with in this movie in the first initial pickup is something that I think should be studied, quite frankly, in films, because the performance he gives is like nerve-wracking as a viewer. I mean, you know that he's psychotic and he's bizarre, and it's really something special. I mean, the performance that Rutger gives in this movie, like I said, it lived up to the hype. The tension builds instantly. This young boy knows he made a grave mistake. He should have never stopped to pick this guy up because he was tired. He thought, hey, let me get some company in here to keep me awake. Big mistake. Huge mistake. And, he manages to escape, but he didn't escape the grasps of Rutger Hauer for very long. The movie starts to take all kinds of great moments and turns and great scenes and build up. This movie's a volcanic eruption of just tense insanity. And it is a solid 9.5 out of 10 for me. I thought that The Hitcher absolutely lived up to the hype. Because you hear about so many movies in the 80s now. I think we do love a lot of these movies deeply. But I almost wonder if sometimes nostalgia gives us rose-colored glasses with how we perceive some of these films. I know I'm guilty of that. Guilty. But The Hitcher is not one of those instances, in my opinion. The Hitcher is a absolute must-watch, in my opinion, when it comes to looking up for those 80s movies that maybe you have not seen yet, like me. If this is one of those instances for you, The Hitcher is a must-see. You have to see this movie. It's a great performance by Rutger Hauer, and quite frankly, everybody. He elevated everybody in this movie, I feel. Just insane performance. So that's the movie. I don't want to spoil it. You know, it's about a killer hitchhiker, basically, and he's psychotic. So that's all you need to know. There's no sense in me spoiling this movie. But let's talk about this Blu-ray. This is the German Blu-ray for The Hitcher. This is from a company called Alive. So on the front it says Hitcher, der Highway Killer. Then it comes in the actual Blu-ray right here. It actually comes with a nice little booklet. So you get a booklet for this movie. And yeah, I was actually quite surprised. I was not expecting any of this with this release. I think this release cost me $22. Yeah, it cost me $22 off Diabolic DVD. They have a media book, but it was out of stock. If it's in stock when you check, I mean, go for it, especially if you're a fan of this movie. And then you got the one disc. So let's talk about the picture quality on this Blu-ray release. It was good. I mean, it was good. It looked like they had like an interpositive or something to work with, or relatively close to the original elements. There's this certain look you'll see with like German Blu-rays where they look really good, but they have a distinct look. Like, I have a couple of German Blu-rays and they all have that same kind of look to it. I don't know what they're using over there, but it seems pretty uniform. But it's a great picture quality. I mean, it's a full 1080p. Rutger Hauer's eyes are blue, blue, blue in this movie, so they really shine through the transfer of this. And there's actually some special features on here. You get a couple trailers, and there looks like there's this semi-vintage making of. The making of seems like it was probably from around 2005 or something, early 2000s. And they talk about the making of this film. Everybody involved in this film finds it weird that the horror fan, it's considered a horror movie. And none of them see it that way. I think what it is the horror fans took ownership of The Hitcher. I think the horror fans took ownership of this movie because, to me, yeah, it's a horror movie. It's a scary movie about a psychotic serial killer hitchhiking guy. But they just see it as a psychological thriller, if you will, which we all, you know, it's a horror movie. But, you know, they all find that interesting. But like I said, I think the horror fans have taken ownership of this movie and claimed it, and it's where it belongs. So it definitely belongs in the horror section, if you ask me. But this is a good Blu-ray. I was very happy with this, and, you know, you just put the movie in. It plays region-free, and I know that for sure because anything Sony is notorious for not wanting to play non-region A stuff if it's supposed to be region-free, and this one is fully region-free, so no mistake there. So you guys should be fine with that. So yeah, check out The Hitcher. A 9.5 out of 10, as close to perfect as you can get. I loved this movie. This Blu-ray release is great. Let me know your thoughts on The Hitcher, guys. I'm so glad I can finally say I've seen this movie, and I'm a massive fan of this movie. Tune in next time when we take a look at Twice Dead.